Hey Smash players, Anthony here. Are you still enjoying the game? Maybe you're finding it a little bit boring lately. Why would that be? Well, maybe it's because you're playing the same characters over and over again. And so, maybe for the next Smash game, you're thinking that the characters should be redesigned. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. Do the Smash Brothers characters need a redesign? Are the people on the internet that are saying that they do correct? I don't think so, and I'm going to tell you why. While I do that, I'm going to be playing against a computer, a bunch of level 9's computers. Yes, I know, never play against a computer, but I have this wireless controller here, and it makes playing online unbearable with the lag between the online lag and this controller's lag. So I prefer playing against a computer, even though there's going to be a lot of lag here because at this distance, the console and the controller, it's not a good mix. So yeah, if I suck, there's that, and also the fact that I'm not that good. Let's start the video off with a pair of questions. Do you want some Smash Brothers characters to get a redesign? Yeah, is that what you want? You want some undergrad student who thinks they know better than a professional game designer sticking their grubby little fingers in the Smash Bros. Cauldron? But seriously, the follow-up question is, if so, why do you want that redesign? Because maybe some of you don't know why you want that. Maybe it's just something that you feel should happen. I'm of the opinion that people, especially when it comes to fans of franchises, don't always know what they want. Now we've got King K. Rool in this footage that you're seeing here, and I'd say that's a potential example of the fans being right when it comes to knowing what they want. This character was a natural pick. Some of the other Nintendo franchises had their villains playable, so it made sense to the fans to give him that "You're a wizard, Harry" envelope. And once he got into Smash, he proved himself. He's a big old croc that likes throwing his weight around, and even though he's not the most viable character in the roster, the fandom has embraced him being here as a fun character to play at least. Personally, I love rooting for him, shouting, "Kremlin King! Kremlin King!" However, there's another character that people also felt should be naturally included for the same reason, because he's a major Nintendo villain. Ridley! And unfortunately, Ridley hasn't gotten anywhere near the same reception. Whereas King K. Rool is able to get past his shortcomings by being lovable and goofy, Ridley is too serious a character to earn respect in this way. When other people were clamoring for him, I didn't really see that working because the Space Pirate leader is canonically too large. I thought it wouldn't function within the game, and that turned out to be somewhat true. He's not fast enough, his specials are terrible, heck, he can't even memorize pi past 3 digits. He's another low tier, and whatever love he gets from Metroid hasn't transferred over to the Smash Bros. Space. So I think we can agree this is an instance where fans thought that they knew what they wanted, but didn't. In fact, it's such a good example of people thinking they know what they want when they actually don't, that it's actually the example that I use whenever I need to convince people that they don't know what they want. Now, this doesn't mean that wanting a redesign on certain characters is a wrong way to view things. Not to make us feel old, but this series did come out 25 years ago. Holy fuck! To younger gamers, this commercial must seem as old to them as the song within the commercial seemed to us. But yes, it has been 25 years, and a lot has changed for these characters since that time. And fighting games do have to update in some ways to stay fresh. If they don't, then what's even the point of releasing a new entry? Do you know what it is if they don't? FIFA! Is that what you want? You want Smash to be FIFA Soccer, or Football, or Kicky Sphere, or whatever it's called? Now, unlike previous generations, in this age of downloadable content, developers could just stick with the old game and just add new characters instead. Some would argue that with those new characters, changes to characters that already exist should be added as well. In the case of Smash Bros., the argument is that it's the classic characters in particular that need a system update. What do we mean by classic characters? I don't know, 8-bit characters, retro characters, characters that the 8-year-old who just told you to get good after slaughtering you in Fortnite thinks are for old people? Well, if we take a close look, characters that were put in Smash before Brawl, the Smash series before Brawl, tend to be designed a bit differently than characters that were added after Brawl. I think there's both a how and why to why the design is this way. Now let's think back to the N64 days, when the original Smash Bros. Game was released. The entire list of fighters to start from was only 8 characters. Today, we have that many characters just from Fire Emblem. But every single character that appeared in the original Smash had their debut on a console that was introduced before the Nintendo 64. On those consoles, buttons on your controller weren't as plentiful. This meant that your character was much more limited in the actions that they could take at any given time. Sure, there was a variety in their gameplay, but that variety came through the acquisition of power-ups or through selecting from a menu. And in some cases, these characters were the power-up. But on a controller with only 2 buttons, that pair of buttons had to provide fun gameplay to keep the player engaged, which meant much more simplified actions. By the time Super Smash Bros. Debuted, the design philosophy was to incorporate those simplified actions as the meat and potatoes of the character's toolkit. In more traditional fighting games, the combatants use standard moves that in gamer lingo we now refer to as normals. But in many of these games, they include more powerful attacks, such as magic-based attacks that are dubbed specials. Smash Bros. Debuted with its own normal special differentiation. But whereas traditional fighters' special moves had additional properties like damaging even while the opponent was blocking, what distinguished moves as special moves in Smash Bros. Was that the move was a direct reference to an action that the character did in their home series that could now be executed by the B button. Now, the normals, something I wish my dad would refer to me as once. The normals in Smash consisted of either throws or aerials and ground attacks that could be performed with the A button. These normals were pretty similar to normals in traditional fighters, such as leg sweeps meant to poke, but with the additional quality of seeming like something the original character might do. Of course, this wasn't a strict rule. Samus's grapple beam from her home series, for example, wasn't a special move, but her method of grabbing. But we can still confidently say that this was the design philosophy used for classic characters. Post-Brawl, however, fighters were starting to be included in Smash who debuted on later consoles, and were capable of a more complex array of moves. In their case, the original philosophy of the normal-special split appears to be abandoned. Now their normals quite frequently reference the source material too. Take Isabelle, for example. Her specials such as the Lloyd Rocket, Fishing Hook, and pocketing an item are clear allusions to Animal Crossing. Because she needs pockets, who do you think she is, Hillary Clinton shoving hot sauce in her purse? But in her kit, those references don't stop there. Her throws use a fishing net, her down tilt involves a digging action, and some aerials involve turnips from the stock market, all references to Animal Crossing. And don't get me started on guest characters like Mega Man, or the duo of Banjo-Kazooie, who not only have an entire moveset from their home series, but each move even has a name that springs from the source material. Meanwhile, those classic Smash fighters? Most of them haven't gone anywhere. Lots of them have continued to appear in a wide variety of games over the years, meaning that now they have a much larger pool of potential moves that could be drawn from to bolster said fighter. To some players, this doesn't seem fair. It's sort of like when they stopped letting Henry Cavill be Superman, but still decided to keep making Superman movies anyway. These characters have entire movesets that only reference a specific period within that character's history. To those aforementioned players, it might appear like these characters don't get the same love that newer editions get, which may be bewildering. Just look at Link. As mentioned, he originated with those simple mechanics. He's got a wide selection of powers for sure, but you still had to pause to switch weapons before continuing the adventure. Now look at him in Breath of the Wild. Link can make use of his sword, arrows, and bombs without hitting the pause button. Additionally, he not only has powers such as magnetism that can be worked into a moveset, but items from across the entire Zelda series since the N64 days, like the Dominion Rod, Deku Leaf, that lamp of oil that the Maccabees used but only lasts for 8 seconds instead of 8 days. Why not do a complete overhaul of these old fogies and change up the gameplay, making the source material take top priority in the process? When Well, despite the fact that I gave a pretty good case in favor of that overhaul, as evidenced by this video's title, I don't think that's the right approach. There are minor changes that I think could be made to enhance the experience, but overall I'd like to see the characters untouched, like that dad who owns a shotgun's daughter on prom night. So that begs the question then, why don't I want any characters to be changed? And how do we end up with a middle ground where the fans who don't agree with me are happy as well? Now, I should have said this at the start of the video, but I should mention, I'm not a game designer. I'm just a Nintendo fan with Cheeto dust on his fingers who's been playing Smash since the beginning. That said, I have no problem going around telling people how I think a Smash Bros. Fighter ought to be designed. There needs to be a variety between fighters, no doubt, but in my opinion, there are 3 critical ingredients involved when creating a Smash fighter. The number one thing in Smash Bros. Character design, in my opinion, is the end result true to the character? That's the most important thing. Maybe there's a version of ourselves living in an alternate universe where Masahiro Sakurai created the game Dragon Fighter, and that game never became Smash Bros. A game where you play as a mime beating up a hippie or something. In that game, this principle wouldn't matter at all, of course. But somewhere in development, the game became one about Nintendo characters, and if you're going to market a game as a Nintendo crossover, you better damn well make sure the characters within the game are the characters everyone knows and loves. If you came to play the game and you wanted to play as Pikachu, but he never used any electric attacks and instead started using magic to conjure up tornadoes or Jesus-style loaves and fishes, I don't care how good he'd be, the developer done goofed. Nobody wants to play a Superman game where Superman can't fly. I can't emphasize enough how important this is, and the fact that I'm getting tongue-tied is a testament to that, I would think. The second thing to consider isn't super important, but it is related to the first, and it's fan service. Fan service is the icing covering this delicious cake. It's the thing that makes the good stuff at the core even better. In Smash, this comes in the form of things like taunts, like when young Link chugs a bottle of Lon Lon milk from Lon Lon Ranch. Super Mario doesn't have moves inspired by his newer games, but he now has a taunt where he throws Cappy around, and that's, of course, from Super Mario Odyssey. Of course, it's not just taunts. Sometimes when Wolf O'Donnell wins, his victory screen includes his classic quote, "You're good, but I'm better," which is a line from Star Fox 64. When Pit is KO'd off the top of the screen, you can hear him scream, "I never learned how to read!" And it's hilarious when you hear it for the first time. It's not a reference to anything in particular, except maybe just some lore, but that little thing just goes a long way, don't you think? Fan service could be something like a song, such as theme music that accompanies many of the villains. It could be items for people who have more than one friend and like to occasionally have fun sometimes, or it could even be a crowd cheer. Most characters have a boring crowd cheer, but not the Pokemon trainer. Hearing the crowd go, "I choose you! I choose you!" It really energizes you when you're playing as that character. But fan service doesn't have to be a callback. An even better crowd cheer is the one for King Dedede. Even if I'm playing against King Dedede, I can't help but smile when I hear Dedede, 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 and then you see a fat penguin with a hammer doing his little dance, and he's even voiced by his creator Sakurai himself. That goes a long way, that fan service. That fan service is every bit as fun as any reference to something prior. It's the little things that make life more enjoyable. The last essential that you need for Smash Bros., the fighter. On some level, we all want the character we play to be the best. But realistically, if you played a game where one character was so much better than the rest, it wouldn't be much fun. Yeah, Melee still has its fans, but most people moved on because there's truths of the classic meme. Final destination, no items, Fox only. There's plenty of fighting games where balance wasn't considered enough, and unfortunately that leads to a scenario where you come up against a certain character, and immediately a lot of people don't want to play the game anymore. That's not good. One reason I love Ultimate so much is that not only are there much more characters to choose from, but those characters, their balancing in one-on-one fights is very much considered. I think I heard someone once say to imagine a skyscraper with 100 stories. If we're talking about Melee, in Melee the best character would be on the roof of that building, while the worst character is on the ground floor. But in Ultimate, the best character in the game is on the top of the building, and the worst is only around floor 75, so there's, it's a pretty close game, no matter who you pick. That's the game I want to play. It's great the players can pick whichever character they want, and what holds them back from victory is mostly their own skill level. We need a game with balance, and if we don't get a game with balance, we're doomed to repeat the history of only seeing dittos with Smash 4 Bayonetta and Brawl Meta Knight. If a character were to be overhauled for the next Smash game, whoever is at the helm designing would need to achieve all three of these things. That's not impossible, but it would take tons of development time. Now, when the Reddit or YouTube community brings up a character redo, it's usually for true-to-the-character reasons, as opposed to balancing reasons. Again, citing the character's history. So, that kind of indicates that many of you agree with me that that's the most important ingredient. Still, I want these characters to stay mostly the same. But, before I tell you why that is, I do have another question for you. Who do you main? It's probably the first question you get asked when you tell people that you play Smash. I want to know who you main, but I also want to know why. If you like, you can tell me down below in the comments. There's multiple reasons why you might main the character that you do. Some people are just loyalists to their character. They have some sort of special connection to the character from playing their home series, and it really doesn't matter to them how that character plays. They just want to keep their love strong. Others choose their main based on who they click with. For example, Marth or Roy, because they had no fans outside of Japan when they were introduced, but they earned those fans through their playstyle, so I think it's pretty safe to say that's true. And yet there's others, lamos, who pick a character because they're top tier and they just want to win. But whatever reason, if you're not a lamo, you probably have a connection with that character you've been playing in some way. When you've asked for this redesign for other characters, are you even asking on behalf of a character that you personally play with? Think about that. How would you feel if the rest of the fanbase kept clamoring to change your character? I don't think you'd like it very much. That's the main reason why I don't think characters in this game should be majorly changed. Nobody should have their character messed with if they don't want that. Now, I'm a bit of a rarity in the Smash community, and I like playing with all the characters. I can't be with just one boyfriend or girlfriend, I'm polyamorous! Seriously though, each of the characters provides a different feeling to me, as a player, and to be honest, I don't want to lose that feeling. So the reason that I'm doing this squad strike thing with all random picks is to hopefully prove a point, and that point is that I don't actually have a main. It might not look like it, because I might end up sucking because of this setup against these level 9 characters, but no, I don't have a main. I definitely like certain characters more than others, but I play the whole roster of Smash characters, except for like 4 of them I don't really like and don't mess with too much. Because let's be honest, Min Min is boring. Sorry, not sorry. So I used to go to a tournament once a month. It was more of a casual thing, not very competitive. I don't consider myself a competitive player, but I did go to a tournament, and a lot of people did not like the fact that I played with everybody and had no main. They see I wanted to run there but couldn't. Why would I just stay there? But yeah, a lot of people didn't like the fact that I didn't have a main, and they I almost didn't know I was playing Wolf for a sec. They did not like the fact that I didn't have a main, and the hosts were kind of like encouraging this behavior because they were like, Zuzalo, he's always counterpicking everybody. He counterpicks, which I do not counterpick. I just go by who I'm feeling. At most, I might just like, you know, if the opponent picks Fox, I might like hover over, say, Deity and be like, oh, that doesn't seem like a good idea, and then, you know, not go that route. Ooh, just got him. But no, I don't counterpick. It's more just like other people know who they're going to pick, so they end up picking first, and then I just, since I don't know who I'm going to pick, since I play everybody, I pick after them. And yeah, I think it caused some people to just not like me because the hosts were like, oh, he counterpicks, boo and boo. And, you know, I don't mind necessarily being the villain because it's kind of a compliment, you know? When somebody's just like, oh, he's playing, boo him. I mean, you know, that's sort of saying they're good, right? If they're saying that... Because I did play with everybody and I was still... I didn't win the whole tournament. I've only won it, like, once or twice, but I got to, like, the final round, like, pretty regularly, playing with all the characters, so you can imagine I have my share of haters. You know, most of it was in good fun. There were probably one or two people that just I felt like might not have liked me, whether that's because maybe I just don't look like a nerd in general. I mean, I wear Mega Man shirts, so I feel like I should, but some people I don't look like a typical nerd. Or was it because of the whole perception that I counterpicked? I didn't do that. There was this one particular night where, like, they were giving me kind of a hard time, and they're like, he's counterpicking, boo him, and like, we have like this weird casual rule where after you, if somebody KOs you, you have to take a drink of your drink. They were okay with me drinking water while I played. But yeah, I took a drink and like they had this substitute host that like didn't know me very well, and he was just like, he just kept yelling at me, take a drink, and I took a drink and like it got bad enough to where I was just like, guys, I took a drink, I swear. Like, but I guess the point is that, yeah, people don't like it if you play the whole roster. They want you to play the game the way that they play the game, and I never understood that. This game has, what, almost 100 characters in it? You know, to me that's like playing with just one character is like, you're playing 1% of a game, you know? I mean, if you get some sort of enjoyment out of just playing one or two characters and would rather just play to win, you know, that's cool with me. I don't have fun that way. I'd rather not win and enjoy my time. I guess the real point is that I play all the characters, and because I play all the characters, it means I like the characters, and I don't really want to see them change. You know, who wants to change Kazuya from doing that awesome blast? I mean, I don't love Kazuya that much, but, you know, you know what I'm saying. So, you know, if you play... Damn, that was... I walked right into that. Yeah, I don't know how I could have avoided it, because, you know, again, this controller sucks, but yeah. If you play with all the characters, it means you like all the characters, so... You know, there's not too many changes that I would endorse. There are, of course, some, and we'll get into that, but... Yeah. There's really no need to go messing with too many of them. You know, we have Isabelle, and she's more of a newer character. Oh, I didn't realize this was the last character I had to defeat. I thought I was getting my ass whooped. But yeah, you know, just consider, like, if somebody were to change your main, how would that make you feel? I mean, some people might want to change because of they only play the character because they like the character from their home series. But I like the characters for that reason, and also because just of the way they play. If I only liked the way one character played, I'd only play one character like everybody else, I guess. Oh, I just realized that these are the same series too. I don't know why it took me that long to realize, but well. Let's see if I can keep... Yep, close it out. Just to clarify, because I don't want you to get the wrong impression, I do think there is some toxicity within the Smash Brothers community, but for the most part I don't find that to be the case. In fact, I find it to be quite the opposite. A lot of people are very friendly and complimentary towards me. The one that comes to mind most is this one guy. He always, you see him in this graphic here that I'm putting up. He knows that I play all the characters, and he's just like, man, you're great, you have the ability to just adapt, and you always win no matter who you're playing. I mean, that's not true, I don't always win no matter who I'm playing, but it did feel, I feel like he thinks I'm better than I am, but it does feel great when he talks to me, so I like when he's at the tournament. I've also had people call me Wizard. I've had these guys I was playing against, two guys at once. One of them mained Fox. No, one of them mained Wolf, the other mained Falco. And when I sat down to play them, I was just like, damn, I really don't want to do this, but I guess I have no choice, and I picked Fox. And I ended up winning against them. And then later, when I was playing one-on-one against one of those guys, I sat down and he was just like, damn, the legend. And again, I don't think that's true about me, but, you know, it is nice to hear that sort of thing. So, yeah, the guys do go a bit too hard on some occasions. I remember once they were going kind of hard on me, and then one of my friends was just like, wow, a bunch of grown adults making fun of a guy over a game. And then they kind of realized that they went a bit too far, and then, you know, they were a bit apologetic toward me for that. But it's really all in good fun. I get that the passion of the game gets people riled up sometimes, so I didn't take any particular offense to that. Yeah, I've got a lot of, pretty much all of my Brooklyn friends playing in this casual Smash tournament, so they were very supportive of me when I won the belt. Even though they make me the villain sometimes, I think that they're very supportive, and these people are more the type that lift people up rather than put them down. So, yeah, thanks guys for being good friends. Getting back to my main point, what then would be a good reason to entirely rework a character? To me, the only clear excuse would be if what we had in the game stopped being true to the character's essence. Imagine this scenario. Let's pretend that the only Kirby game that existed was the first Kirby game on Game Boy, Kirby's Dream Land. No games come out in the Kirby series until we get Smash Bros., the original Smash Bros. That comes out right before the new millennium. Now let's pretend that the rest of those Kirby games come out after the original Smash Bros. Release. Our boy Kirby didn't have his signature copy ability in the original Game Boy adventure. So that would mean, in this hypothetical scenario, that his creator would have made him a playable fighter in Smash, and he would have neither his powers from his home series, nor the 11 copy abilities from the other fighters. A very different fighter in that alternate reality game. That probably sounds ridiculous. It's like finding out the Pope skipped church on Sunday to go see Black Sabbath. Kirby pretty much is his copy abilities to any of us who are somewhat familiar with him. If the Smash Bros. Games that followed afterward, after those games were released in this alternate universe, didn't reflect that aspect of him, then it wouldn't accurately be reflecting Kirby, now would it? Kirby from his original game and Kirby from the subsequent games are basically two completely different characters, and to not give him an update would make him a sham of a character. But when you look at the other characters, just about every other character isn't like that, though. Yes, these beloved icons get new tricks added to their repertoire, but for the most part, nothing has been added to them that defines them. Yes, in one game, Bowser jumped and it caused the shockwave when you were fighting as Super Mario. But it's not like by not having that shockwave within his Smash moveset, he ceases to be Bowser. Still, I hear some of you griping, well, these characters still should get reworked. As much of the source material should be used in their kit as possible. I mean, really? I mean, I see where you come from, but I think you're looking at it with the wrong perspective. You're looking at the relationship between Smash Bros. And other Nintendo games as linear. A relationship where other games are supposed to pipeline their essence into Smash. And while it should be that way most of the time, in reality, this union isn't really linear. It's actually circular. Smash isn't always the mama bird. Sometimes it's the baby bird that gets fed by another game, forcefully vomiting down its throat. Let me explain by bringing up Marth. The Prince of Altea gets most of his love from Smash Bros., not the two games he stars in from his home series. Not even the ones that he cameos in either. And Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light is your standard 8-bit tactical RPG. Your unit moves to a space on the grid and takes action with a simple cutscene. But in Smash, Marth's actions became more active, and that meant something was added that wasn't there before. Marth fought with flair. The animations of his swordplay were very engaging to watch. That aspect of him became noticeable to other developers, and it started to bleed into his home series. In the latest Fire Emblem, his spectral reflection fights with the same finesse. We have Sakurai-san to thank for that. And he's not the only one. Super Mario didn't take his punch-kick combo with him into space. For Super Mario Galaxy, Shigeru Miyamoto wanted to make use of the Wii's motion controls, and, with the shake of the controller, our Italian plumber executed a spin attack. Now, to me, this is clearly inspired by Smash's Mario Tornado. In Pit, his new model became the standard for a subsequent Kid Icarus game. Who knows what else that's original to Smash that could inspire future video games? Let's be honest, if they ever remade Earthbound, Ness would get the same voice he has in this game. Then you'd get to hear him shout, PK Fire! PK Fire! PK Fire! Over and over again. Doesn't that sound great? So how do you keep the next game fresh, if you don't completely rework the movesets? Well, I guess you could add an additional move through something like a back special, like in the way that Terry Bogard has one. The only issue there, though, is that those moves need to feel natural. That's the simple brilliance of Smash's control scheme. A recovery move where your character needs to move up has the player pushing up on the control stick. Most other attacks are similarly intuitive. Back specials would need to have that same quality or else they're not going to work. Outside of that, there's only a few other tweaks that I'd dub appropriate, really. Let's take a look at them now. So, there are 3 characters that I hear more than any other when we bring up which characters in Smash are supposed to be reworked. The first is Mario, and he's definitely the most popular character of the entire Smash roster in terms of being well known, and because of that, he is supposed to be the most balanced, so we do have to keep that in mind when designing this character. You know, little kids are going to be playing as him, he can't be too complicated. Now, Mario is, of course, he has his mainline games, but he's been in a wide array of games, kart racers, board games, golf, tennis. He's an everyman, this guy. You wouldn't know to look at him, but yeah, he can do a wide variety of things. He's even a doctor. My plum is a doctor. Anyway, so yeah, he is supposed to be balanced. He does have some references to his home series outside of his special moves. His punch, punch, kick, jab is definitely a reference to Super Mario 64, as well as his down smash. He can do that little handstand sweeping kick move. I don't know what you would call it. But, yeah, so how would I change him? Well, with his specials, we definitely need to keep the fireball, because that's the most iconic move in his set. He has to keep that. Without it, that would just be ridiculous. He also has the super jump punch, which I think needs to be kept because it's a reference to his jumping, which is even more arguably associated with Mario than the fireball. I mean, that's his main method of attacking people, jumping. And the punch is just sort of a way of displaying that without actually having him jump on top of people. So what's left? Well, he has the Flood, and he has the Cape. So I don't think either one is just essential Mario. I think both could go. I don't want necessarily either to go, but I just think, they're not his essence, is what my main point is. And they both kind of functionally do the same thing. They're both sort of edge-guarding tools. So in that sense, we don't really need both. I think if we're going to get rid of one, we would get rid of the Flood, because the Cape seems more versatile to me. It can do that edge guarding, plus it can reflect things, it can stall his descent. So I would keep the Cape. I might replace, if I was in charge, I would replace his down special with a ground pound, which I know isn't a reference to anything newer, but it is very Mario. He has it in quite a number of games, so it was always weird to me that he didn't have that in particular. But I don't know what you could do to replace it with. I mean, you could definitely replace his down special with a newer reference, I suppose, as long as it feels natural. I don't know what that would be, but I would say if they either add back specials, maybe move the Flood to the back special, that seems like it would be natural in terms of how your fingers move, control-wise, and then replace his down special with something else. So that's how I would do that. Also, again, I don't want the characters to be reworked in a major way, but I feel like if we are going to do that, his down tilt and his side tilt are very similar. We don't really need both, so maybe one of those could be a reference to a move in a Mario game. So yeah, keep him balanced. The other change that I would make that I don't think would mess with his balance, but maybe it would. Again, I'm not a game designer. I think, because he's a balanced fighter, he probably shouldn't have a hidden ability. That's what might be the logic, but I do think he should have one of those secret abilities like Bowser has Tough Guy. Mario's, I think, should be his footstool. All the characters have a footstool, but Mario is known for jumping on people. I think his footstool should have an additional effect, like maybe cause like 4% damage or something if he footstools somebody. Or, I don't know, maybe his footstool launches them faster or farther. Something like that to reference the character. I think it's just a very natural fit. Additionally, with that, Luigi is a clone of Mario. He has gone through Luigification, but he still has that skeleton of Mario in there. And so I think Luigi also should have that effect on his footstool, but I think it should be a different effect. So let's say Mario, he does a footstool and it causes damage. Luigi could maybe do a footstool and it causes the opponent to trip if they're on the ground. Now I don't remember if you could grab people while they're tripped. If you can, that might actually break Luigi. But doesn't that seem very Luigi, that Luigi uses his little noodly legs to jump on people and they trip? I think it's a very natural fit for that character. So yeah, I think those are the changes that I would make to the Mario Brothers that I think would be true to their character, and as long as they're not breaking the character and keeping the balance, I think that we should add those changes, perhaps. At least consider it. The next character that I hear people say should be changed majorly is Donkey Kong, which I don't agree with because the people who play Donkey Kong really like playing as Donkey Kong, so they probably don't want the character to be changed, unfortunately. Now, when I hear this criticism of why he should be changed, people say that he's not Donkey Kong, he's just very gorilla, which I kind of don't understand because Donkey Kong is a big gorilla, so yeah, that kind of makes sense. Um, but I don't know, I guess Donkey Kong is kind of upbeat in many of his games, and maybe people feel that he's not as upbeat in the Smash series, so they want him to change in that way, maybe. Um, but he is in a fight, so maybe that's why he's not exactly smiling. Uh, just a hunch there. Um, but I guess the other way that they say Donkey Kong isn't like Donkey Kong is because he doesn't have any barrels within his moveset. And that is a fair point. I mean, Donkey Kong is associated with barrels, so maybe there should be a barrel in there. The only problem is, I mean, do you want him to roll a barrel? Because that seems like it would be a pretty bad move. It seems like it would be very slow, very easy to dodge. And maybe him having a projectile would break the character in some way. So, I don't think that that would be a good way to incorporate a barrel into Donkey Kong's move set. But I do agree that he is lacking in barrels in some ways. So what can we do? Well, what I would do is I would just make the alteration to his final smash. Keep his final smash the exact same, but maybe we can change it in a way where Donkey Kong, the animation, he could just scoop an opponent up in the barrel, and then he could just pound the opponent in the face while they're in the barrel. I think that would be a way to reference his barrels and keep the character essentially the same for people who like playing as him. The only other way I would maybe really change him, he does have that up tilt, and that I like that up tilt, but do we really need two heavy characters with that same up tilt? Because Bowser has pretty much the same up tilt as Donkey Kong has. So maybe we can incorporate a barrel that way, where instead of doing his hand slapping motion, he just takes a barrel and juts it over his head and hits the opponent that way, sort of like a frat boy doing a kickstand, or not kickstand, but about to do a kickstand. I think that would be a way to incorporate a barrel that wouldn't alter the character just down to his core. So, the only other thing that I could think of to potentially make Donkey Kong more Donkey Kong without changing him too much would be, again, as if they added back specials. Maybe he could incorporate Unguard the Swordfish in some way, just maybe whip him out and just do a little poking jab that sort of just bounces the character back a little bit, and then sets them up for further combos. Nothing that does a lot of damage, maybe just a little bit of damage like Ness's down special, but yeah, I think that would be a way of making him more Donkey Kong, and a way that doesn't alter him too much for the Donkey Kong mains out there. Staying within the Kong family, we also have Diddy Kong, who I also don't think needs to be changed majorly, but I do just think it's weird. He is known for the Donkey Kong Country games, but he has also been in other games. He has starred in Diddy Kong Racing, which is not referenced at all in Smash Bros. So if they were to change Diddy Kong, maybe they could add a little reference to that. I don't necessarily think that he should have a kart move the way that the Koopalings do for their side B. Though that could work, I don't know. But also maybe he has those balloons to grab the items in the cart. I think maybe there's that balloon that does the shield move. Maybe just add that to the character. Have him just have a little balloon that creates a little shield around him, and have it work sort of like Ness's Psy Magnet. Just sort of does a little bit of damage and doesn't really have any knockback, but I don't know, maybe that would break Diddy and make him too much of a combo beast. But it's a good way to think about doing that, don't you think? And also, just maybe bring his Infinite back. I know Infinites are kind of lame in some way, but I feel like his was just cool, where he can just keep throwing the banana peel in perpetuity and locking an opponent there. It was very fun to watch, so if you brought that back, I wouldn't be too upset. The last character that I hear people clamoring for to get changed is Ganondorf, and this one makes the most sense to me. He did start off as a Captain Falcon clone in Smash Brothers, and those are two completely different characters. One's a racer, or futuristic racer, in I don't know what you would call that kind of race, and another is supposed to be a warrior slash warlock. Mostly a warlock, recently more warrior once Tears of the Kingdom came out, but for most of his history he's been very warlock-like, or supposed to be at least. So you don't really see that in his moveset too much, and that's a shame. So what would I do to change him, but not really change him? Because, again, people do play this character and do like the character, and they probably don't want him to be changed, because if you're playing the worst character in the game, I don't think he's the worst, I think Little Mac was worse personally, but a lot of people consider him the worst in the game, and if you're playing him, you must really like playing as him. I was recently watching on the official Nintendo YouTube channel, they were holding a Smash tournament, and the guy who's playing as Ganondorf, he almost took, I think it was the semifinal bracket from a Steve player, who's often considered the best character in the game, slash broken, because he is. So if you're playing with the potentially worst character in the game versus the best character in the game and winning, you definitely don't want that character changed, I wouldn't think. So again, how would I change him without really changing him? So I think giving him the swords was definitely a step in the right direction, just to differentiate him from Captain Falcon and to make him more Ganondorf-like. But how would I make him more Ganondorf? So what I would do is I would take his jab, and I think we should perhaps consider making that a reflector. He has that scene in Ocarina of Time and some other games where he does the Dead Man's Volley. He takes the energy ball and he shoots it at Link, and you're supposed to bat it back and forth with him. To give him an outright projectile on his own, that might break him because he does need his weaknesses to balance him out, even though he is pretty bad according to most people. So I think giving him the ability to not summon a projectile on his own, but to bash them backwards at the opponent, that could be a way to reference him and not balance him out, but strengthen him up a little bit, buff him. And maybe if you want to just make it so that they work on energy projectiles, like Ness's down special, which I keep mentioning, maybe that would be a way to do it. I think he could probably stand to reflect all the projectiles with his jab, but yeah, just keep his jab the same, but add that reflector to it. What else would I do to Ganondorf? I would, I know the Warlock Punch is bad, but I really like the Warlock Punch, so I know it's similar to the Falcon Punch. The approach that I would take mostly is to just Luigi-fy him from Captain Falcon. Change most of the moves that he has that are in common with Captain Falcon, and just alter them a little bit so that they play differently. I mean, they play differently now, but you know what I'm saying. Not his neutral air, because I love his neutral air too much, but you know, things like their back hairs are the same, I think. So why not change Ganondorf's back hair to something a little more magical? I don't know what that would be, but I think that could be altered to some sort of magical attack. As far as his down tilt, those are the same. I think his down tilts, again, keep it functionally the same, but change the animation. Change it to maybe him taking his trident that he often has in his Ganon pig-like form and have him just stab downward with it. I think that would reference the character and also keep him the same. I do like his up tilts, but I don't know, maybe something magical could be that. Just look at his forward air as well. So he has that forward air fist move that has some dark energy coming off of it. Maybe alter it in a way that's just, instead of the purple dark energy, maybe have a flaming bat at the end of his fist as a reference to his attack in A Link to the Past and other games. I think that would be a way of referencing his games without altering what he does functionally. What else would I do? The other major change that I would do to his specials, I would alter Dark Dive. I like his Gerudo Dragon, and I like Wizard's Foot. But Dark Dive, I think, could be changed to make it more like Meta Knight's Downbeat. And I think that would be a change that would make it clear that he's magical and has wizard powers. So you do his up B, he disappears, and then reappears once the move goes into effect. Which I think would not only be a reference to his warlockness, but also perhaps allow for some potential movement mix-ups to surprise the opponent. Again, if that makes him broken, then don't do it, but I don't know. Again, he could use some buffs according to a lot of people, so maybe make that change. And also, the Dark Dive, it has two different ways of attacking. So there's the grab, and then if you're not close enough, it automatically goes into a hit. I would say maybe change it so that keep the grab, but also make the hit, maybe make it something else, but I would have it so that the player determines which one of those attacks goes through. Sort of like how Zero Suit Samus has that down special where they can do the standard flip or they can kick, So put it into the player's hands, what comes out of that. Other changes, I hear people say that Ganondorf could float, sort of like Princess Peach, and I get that he does that within his games. My issue with that is that I kind of like when characters stay unique, so I kind of want just Peach to have that ability so that nobody else has it. Though I do agree it would be more true to the character. What I would do instead is maybe when he does his downed throw, maybe instead of just slamming the opponent down on the ground, maybe he himself sort of floats and then smashes them down that way. Just make a little reference to it there. So those are the changes that I would make to Ganondorf as a fighter. There's also a little fan servicey thing that I would do. Please bring back Ganondorf's old crowd cheer, where the crowd just somberly goes, Ganondorf, Ganondorf. You've changed it to this very boring thing that's just like everybody else's, and it's just, I don't know. It's just, I thought it filled you with that dread and awe of Ganondorf kicking ass, that old cheer, so please bring that old cheer back. I also want to take a look at Zelda. Why? Well, remember when I was talking about Kirby and saying that, it would be weird if he didn't have his copy ability because that would be a defining feature of him that he wouldn't have in Smash Brothers? Well, now that argument may potentially apply to Zelda herself. At the time of this video is about to be released, Echoes of Wisdom will have come out, or might be about to come out, and it's the first game starring Princess Zelda without Link. What does that mean? Well, it means that Zelda might end up being defined in some way in the future that she hasn't been defined as yet, with her new Echo ability to create objects and enemies out of her magic. She definitely, I feel, should keep the magic abilities that she has as a reference to the Triforce and the Three Goddesses, so I wouldn't take anything away from her in that regard. Nor would I take away the Phantom, which is a reference to the Phantom Hourglass, I believe. It would make sense. I haven't played those handheld ones, but if it's not a reference to the Phantom Hourglass, that's weird to me. Anyway, what would I do to change Zelda so that she's more Zelda? Well, again, if they add those back specials, maybe we saw in the trailers or don't know if it's a trailer necessarily, but you know what I mean. That Zelda creates blocks of water with her magic at some points in the game. Perhaps she can create a block of water behind her, and it could have the effect of one of those assist trophies where the opponent is just majorly slowed down. Now, considering Zelda's forward and back aerials, that might majorly break her, so maybe we shouldn't do that. But I do hear that she's on the lower end of the tier list, so maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. I think I'm just kind of coming up with stuff that I think would reference her. The better way to change her, in my opinion, would probably be to not get rid of the Phantom, but alter it so that the move is a little bit more like Pac-Man's bonus fruit move. So the Phantom has, I think, 5 or 6 stages. Maybe, instead of it always being a Phantom, maybe the first move is a Bomb Chew, or a Blade Trap, or a Boulder, or a ridiculous looking Tesla that Elon Musk designed. Something like that. You know, each phase of the Phantom gets replaced with a different object. Although the final phase, I think, should definitely be the full final phase of the Phantom that we have within this game, so that, again, Zelda players don't feel like they've been gypped or have to change their character too much. And honestly, when she makes those summons, one thing that I love about Smash, it's a little fan servicey thing, I love when characters have references that make sense, references to other Nintendo games within their moveset. So I love it when Princess Peach can pull a Mr. Saturn from Earthbound out of the ground, potentially. I really love how the Villagers Up Special is a reference to Balloon Fight. Yeah, those types of little things I really like. So I think that if we make a change to the Down Special in the way that I said, I think there could potentially be a reference to another series within there. Maybe one of her phases within that move set, she can summon a green shell from the Super Mario series. Not only would that be a reference to her summoning abilities, it would also be a reference to a multiple reference to, say, Link's Awakening, which the art style of that game originated this moveset, but also Link's Awakening has a lot of references to Mario itself. So, I don't know, I think that would be pretty cool if they worked in a Mario reference to Zelda's Down Special in some way. So yeah, that's the change that I would make to Zelda. Sonic the Hedgehog. Yep, that's him. A lot of people want Sonic to be changed because they hate Sonic, and I don't necessarily blame them. He is very fast, and it is pretty frustrating when you're playing a Sonic opponent that just runs away from you and doesn't attack, and I don't think that play should necessarily be banned, but I don't know, it should be discouraged and frowned upon, maybe give the player some sort of strike. I don't know how it works, but yeah, anyway, I do think he needs to be fast, because that's Sonic in his essence, so we don't necessarily need to change him that way, but just, you know, frown upon just shitty gameplay. The thing I would change, though, is he has 2 special moves that are basically the same. They're both rolling around at the speed of sound, and we don't need both, so maybe make his side special kind of like the Falco Phantasm. I think that would be a way of referencing his speed and mixing up his gameplay a little bit. So that's the only real change I would make to Sonic. Though, he did used to have a taunt where he goes, "You're too slow." Apparently a lot of people miss that taunt, so why not bring it back? I personally like his down taunt a lot, where he's like, "Come on," and spins around on the floor, but if people miss the other taunt, then just bring it back. Why not have it there, you know? Robin, please don't force Robin to use a meter. He's already the second slowest character in the game. He doesn't need an additional weakness like his attacks being on a meter. I just think that... I mean, I get where it comes from. In Fire Emblem, your weapons only have a limited number of uses before you have to buy new ones and stick them on your character. And, you know, Marth doesn't have that weakness within his toolkit because he uses the Falchion, which is an infinite weapon within the home series. But, I mean, is it really going to be that big of a deal to just not have him on a meter? I mean, maybe keep it for his sword and his neutral special, but I don't think we need it on any of his other attacks, especially his recovery. I mean, come on. It's not going to break the character, I don't think. Letting the character just use his attacks whenever he feels like. The other way that I would change Robin as well is just his sword. The way he switches between the bronze sword and the Levin sword. So to do that, I just found this out because I was wondering, like, why is it sometimes I'm using this sword and other times I'm not? Apparently, the specific moves that he uses are how his sword switches. So if you do a jab or a tilt, those are going to make the weaker sword come out. But if you want to use the stronger sword, you have to do a smash attack. So, let's say you did a tilt and now you want to go into an aerial. Well, you can't do a weak tilt and then go directly into a strong aerial. You have to do a weak tilt and then directly a weak aerial follows it. If you want to do a strong aerial, you have to do the weak tilt. Then you have to waste the time, the frames, doing the smash attack so it switches to the Levin sword, and then you could do the strong aerial. I think that's a bit much for, again, pretty much the slowest character in the game. I mean, you can't let them just switch some easier way. Come on now. That's kind of bull. Cloud and Sephiroth. Give them their English voice actors. Every character that speaks actual languages, now that Marth is no longer speaking Japanese and is now speaking English, they speak English now. I'm not trying to sound like some sort of border patrol, but I just think that just for the sake of consistency, and so I can understand what's going on, more an insight to the character, because I actually haven't played Final Fantasy VII myself, I don't know these characters as well as I would like to, and you know, my introduction to them is through Smash, so maybe amplify that, maybe have me be able to know these characters more familiarly, that's hard to say, by just having me know what their personalities are more like, by letting me understand what they're saying. So I don't get why Cloud and Sephiroth don't have their English voice actors within this game. It might be a legal thing, but if not, just, come on, just do it, man. The last character that I want to go over is Rob, and again, I don't think he should be changed, but Rob, he's in a unique position because he's not actually a video game character. He's an accessory. So that means he's in a unique position where his moveset is the most malleable of the entire cast. You know, his moveset is up for interpretation. As long as it's somewhat vaguely robotic, we'll accept that as one of Rob's moves, pretty much. So what does that mean? Well, again, I like when characters, their movesets, they reference other games. So what I would do is, maybe because Rob doesn't have to be strict in the way that other characters do, I would maybe incorporate something like that into Rob's moveset if they add additional moves. Again, I don't want to take anything away from you guys, like the laser. I know you guys who main Rob really like the gyroscope move, rely on it a lot, so I wouldn't want to take that away from you. What I would do, however, is I think Nintendo, I think they own the Chibi Robo franchise. you know, Rob seems ripe to have a reference to that within his moveset. Also, if they don't want to go that route, I remember that assist trophy that used to be in Smash where it had the tanks from Advance Wars. It wasn't a great assist trophy, but I do think that he could potentially have a move like the Koopalings, where they have that Mecha Koopa, maybe summon one of those tanks from Advance Wars in the same way that the Koopalings summoned the Mecha Koopa. Just a little reference there. The other thing, I think it's weird that in all of Smash, we used to have a stage based entirely on the concept of PictoChat. That's how much fan service Masahiro Sakurai puts it within this franchise. And you know, it's a little weird to me that out of all the franchises, that made it in, but Game Boy Camera has been completely overlooked by this series. And I remember how revolutionary it was, Game Boy Camera, when it first came out. Like, adults thought it was cool. It's weird that there's not a stage that references Game Boy Camera. But I think Rob is a good opportunity to reference Game Boy Camera. Keep his middle taunt, because I like that, but his other two taunts are lame, so maybe replace them with something like Pac-Man's up taunt, where he has like a random display. Maybe make random Game Boy Camera pictures come out during Rob's taunt. I think that would be a way to reference Game Boy Camera somehow. You know, just a fun little fan servicey thing that you could do with Rob. Honestly, the best way to give these newer games that these older characters are a part of a shout-out is really through the fan service side of things, I think. I think it's more just maybe you could give them a new taunt, or in the case of many characters, a new alt costume would be the best case. It's not really through their moveset, I think. Take Mario, for example. Mario, of course, he's got Murica Mario, as I call him, and that's really a reference to his appearance in an NES game. And then we've also got Wedding Mario, and then Builder Mario, and then we've got some just plain, just generic, different colored costumes. I don't get why at all did you take away the Fire Mario alt costume? That was his best alt costume, it's most classic. I don't get why that is gone. And I just don't, in general, get why we go for just alt colors rather than just references to the games. Like, Mario has enough just variations over his 35-year plus history where he just can have just every one of his alt costumes just be a different costume reference to a game. Honestly, I don't see why Doc Mario is still a character, and I think his Doc Mario costume should be an alt of just regular Mario, because, you know, Dr. Mario kind of sucks in this game. I think there could be a Shadow Mario alt costume, possibly. Even though it's part of the older games, I personally would love a Frog Mario costume, or maybe a Hammer Brothers suit alt. You could even just reference the Mario Party games and make him the Cowboy Deputy Mario from Mario Party 2, I think. There's just lots of options with Mario. Link has got some good ones too. Personally, I don't really get why this isn't his default costume. I personally don't like it when they make the newer version the default costume. I like the older costume, the more classic versions to be the default. And I would prefer his main costume to be an alt. But he's got some good alts. He's got Shadow Link, he's got Fierce Deity Link, there's plenty of other links that you could reference, especially after Breath of the Wild. I think you can give him maybe the Barbarian set would be good, or any of the other clothing sets. Not any of them, but like lots of them would work. Personally, I would like at least one of the links to go back to having a pure white costume as a reference to the original Zelda when he upgrades his armor. Samus, of course, is another one with a lot of great alts, but she could at least, I would say, get rid of this costume and replace it with the costume from Metroid Dread. See, why does Luigi get to keep his Fire Luigi outfit, but Mario doesn't have his Fire Mario outfit? It just doesn't make sense. But as far as Luigi is concerned, we definitely need a Gooigi costume, and I know a lot of people want a Mr. L as a reference to the Paper Mario games. I'm not sure what else you can do. I mean, I am sure, but not off the top of my head. I guess you could also give him a Mario Party reference, or, you know, lots of good options for Luigi. As far as Bowser is concerned, we have Wedding Mario. Why not Wedding Bowser? He's got some good alts. He's got this Dark Bowser one, and that one's good, that one's good. Not references to his costume, though. And definitely this one is great because it's a reference to the original Mario Brothers, or maybe Lost Levels, I don't remember which. This here is my preferred Ganondorf, but of course he could get his more exotic looking outfit from Tears of the Kingdom if they were giving him another alt. Pokemon Trainer. Pokemon Trainer should have an alt that's just a set of shiny Pokemon. I think that one's a no-brainer. Honestly, I think that even Pokemon Trainer himself should be a shiny, and he should be black, like that. Black people are the shiny version of white people. That's what I think. Don't cancel me. There's gotta be some cuter alts for Pikachu, don't you think? I mean, this Pokemon hat, I think that one's pretty cool, and I also like the party hat. But as far as the other ones, I know people like Pikachu Libre, but as far as the other alts, I think, like, there's definitely ways to make Pikachu cuter, don't you think? Like, he could have a top hat, a little Halloween costume, something. We've seen Pikachu be cuter. Put him in a little suit, something. Sonic could maybe have Metal Sonic and Shadow as alt costumes, sort of like how Olimar has Alf, if that's feasible. I don't know the legal stuff of that. Same thing with Pac-Man having a Ms. Pac-Man. That one's definitely a legal issue. There's some company that owns Ms. Pac-Man for whatever reason. Even though it would be totally kick-ass for a Ms. Pac-Man ult in this game, it's just not going to happen, unfortunately. I think that might also be the case for Street Fighter, like why we don't have alt costumes for Ryu and Ken, or for like how the new fighting games have updated costumes. We don't have those. I think the reason for that is they can only do stuff from Street Fighter 2, because if you go into the stage selection where you select the stages, it says the name of the game that the stages are from, or the series. When you try to select the stage for Ryu and Ken, it says Street Fighter 2 specifically. It doesn't say just Street Fighter, it says Street Fighter 2, so I'm pretty sure that they can only incorporate elements from Street Fighter 2 specifically, which is why all the songs as well are from Street Fighter 2 when you select from the track list. Mega Man, Proto Man, kind of makes sense, don't you think? I like pretty much all the Inklings costume, though maybe, I guess if people feel that there's something else that should be added, maybe they can go a different route and add different alts for them. Also K. Rool, maybe he could get like a Baron K. Roolenstein outfit or a Captain K. Rool. I don't necessarily think he needs to be messed with as well, even though some of his alts are better than others, but I don't know if that's what people want. Isabelle, of course, looks great in this outfit, and this more mayoral outfit, but, you know, Animal Crossing New Horizons came out since, and she could really use that little tropical Hawaiian shirt that she wears sometimes. Fans of Banjo-Kazooie would probably love it if Kazooie got that secret transformation that she gets in one of the games. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't played it. Maybe some of the Marth clones could be consolidated as other alts of just the original Marth, if people would like that. I definitely like Marth the best of the Marth clones, so I wouldn't be too sad if that happened. The Villager, he could perhaps get different alts. I know a lot of people complain about lack of diversity, and maybe that's a way to include more stuff like that. I'm not personally into that stuff, but you know, everybody should be placated to some degree, I guess. And then also, hero, we could add more than just the 4 heroes. And also, this is the default hero right there. I think we all know that. So that's how I would do it. That's the approach I'm going with. Though I am curious what people who are actually good at this game would think. You know, Smash content creators like Larry Lur, Mars, Vars, even Izaw. If you guys somehow see this video and want to do a reaction to it, or if any of you watching want to do a reaction video to it, yeah, I'm totally cool with that, so go ahead. You know, Who even knows if this matters in the end, because we don't even know if we're going to get another Smash entry, so this whole video may be useless speculation. It would be a bit weird if we don't get another one, because Smash is just that profitable. It's too profitable to abandon. I mean, it is the highest selling fighting game of all time at this point, but then again, Nintendo does have a habit of dropping franchises when the main person at the helm no longer holds that passion for working on those franchises. Earthbound! Star Fox! Star Fox! Personally, I think asking for another Smash game might be just another case of the fans not knowing what they want. I'm not looking forward to it because it's very likely a new game would be vastly inferior to Ultimate. Because, let's face it, there's no way we're getting every character back, so unless they magically keep everyone I personally like while cutting the few I hate, I'll be disappointed. But, who knows? You know, say you know a lot, I'm sorry. Still, I stand by the idea of don't reboot the characters. Just keep the game fresh, but do it in other ways than rebooting the characters. I would say mostly by adding new modes of play. Lots of us love the Subspace Emissary, so it could be cool to see something similar to that again in a future Smash entry. Maybe a better squad strike where you could swap the fighters in and out like some other fighting games do, instead of just waiting for your character to get KO'd. That might be difficult because of the way the damage is dealt in Smash with the percentages, but you know, if it could be worked in, that would be pretty cool. Of course, if there is a new Smash, we would definitely need some new characters. Personally, I'd love to see Midna. Bomberman I think would be a good classic character to add. Maybe make things interesting by throwing in Scott Pilgrim as a wild card. But my dream pick is definitely Mallow. I know everybody wants Geno. I've always been a Mallow man. He's my favorite video game character ever, probably tied with Super Mario, but I really wouldn't be upset if they added both Mallow and Geno. That would be great in my opinion. It just wouldn't seem fair to use up 2 character slots for them though. My solution to that would be, I think maybe they should add them both, but do it as a double character, similar to how Banjo and Kazooie are. There could probably be like an active character and a passive one, so maybe Mallow could be the active character, and when he is, Geno is like a little tiny doll on his back, and then maybe when Geno is attacking, doing his attacks, maybe he grows to full size, and then Mallow's just a cloud hanging over his head. You know, something like that I think would be a way to add both characters, because it would be weird to just have all 4 party members from that game and not one of them. And I haven't played the remake because I love the originals too much that I don't think a remake is necessary, but I heard in the remake Mallow just kicks a lot of ass, so maybe he has a lot of new fans now, so yeah, I think that could be a great solution to a character that we've been asking for decades now to be in Smash. So yeah, a double character. I'm just trying to make us all happy, damn it. But anyway you slice it, for the love of God, if there is another Smash game, it needs one thing above all else. If you don't add this to the game, do not bother even making the game, and that thing is... Guys, thank you so much for watching this video all the way through, making it this far. If you liked this video, why not consider subscribing? I'll be glad to have you. I talk about a wide variety of things on this channel, so you're in for a wide variety of things if you stick around. Smash that like button, because this is Smash Brothers after all. And please leave a comment down below, although because this is the Smash community we're talking about, I do feel obligated to ask you to make it a comment that is respectful towards everybody else and not toxic. Thanks again, and make sure that next KO is a great one.
Gotta drop.
Visual, is that another fucking stream in your background?
That was the clip that I wanted to add to my Instagram that I couldn't, and it's of me destroying you.
Oh shit! Oh my god.
That's incredible. Fucking awesome.
Oh my god, I have never been dragged so hard or specifically in my life, and I'm just in awe and flattered and horrified, and I love all of it.
Wait, here's the part where I shoot you with the gun.
Oh shit!
Man,
Yo, and
as
I
a
am-
connoisseur of Zoom backgrounds. This might be the greatest I've seen.
And
Just shit
Oh
talking.
my god!
also, I'm looking so drunk in this video.